relationship between the United States and the People's Republic of China is one of the most important relationships of our time. The path it takes will shape opportunities and challenges for people in both of our countries.
World leaders converging on San Francisco as the city prepares for the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Summit, which gets underway tomorrow. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to West Coast Wrap. I'm Alex Savage. In San Francisco, last-minute preparations are happening tonight as thousands of visitors arrive in town for the week-long summit. APEC is the largest gathering of world leaders to happen in San Francisco since 1945, with President Biden expected to meet with Chinese President Xi Jinping next week here. Tonight, delegations are gearing up for a busy week. Abdul Razak, aide to the Malaysian Prime Minister, says coming to APEC is important so that world leaders can meet face-to-face.
In-person interaction is very important. Although now you can do it online and everything, but always in-person communication is, I think, the best type of communication.
Hotels across the city are filling up. At the Westin St. Francis near San Francisco's Union Square, employees say next week is going to be extremely busy.
We've been busy preparing for APEC, and we're starting to see the arrivals right now.
The St. Francis says it expects to be fully booked as APEC kicks into high gear. As hotels prepare for an influx of out-of-town guests, police are out in full force across the city. Officers are redirecting traffic, and they are securing the area around the Moscone Convention Center. That's where most of the summit's meetings will be taking place. And before the official start of the summit, there were meetings today between the U.S. and China. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen met with her Chinese counterpart in the hopes of stabilizing the two countries' economic relationship. KTVU's Brooks Jerose has the details tonight on what was discussed.
The Treasury Secretary was clear the groundwork has been laid for a high-stakes meeting between President Biden and President Xi. Day 2 meeting face-to-face in San Francisco. U.S. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen and Chinese Vice Premier He Lifeng agreed to work together.
We do not seek to decouple our economy from China's. This would be damaging to both the U.S. and China and destabilizing for the world.
Coming at a time when competition is intensifying, Yellen says both countries pledged to improve the economic environment for businesses with a goal of making progress on trade issues.
While we will at times use economic tools to protect our national security interests, our vision also includes a healthy and stable economic relationship.
The secretary says she stood firm on concerns over China's export controls and Chinese companies supporting Russia's military. She wants to see a crackdown on businesses violating U.S. sanctions.
Companies must not provide material support for Russia's defense industrial sector, and that they will face significant consequences if they do.
The finance chiefs agreed to increase communications and tackle big issues, including debt relief to low-income countries and combating climate change.
The physical and economic impacts of climate change are mounting across the globe, including here in California. We discussed specific areas where we can enhance our cooperation.
Cooperation Yellen hopes will carry through when both countries' presidents meet Wednesday on the sidelines of the APEC summit. Yellen says while many disagreements remain, there's now a commitment to progress.
It's critical to be able to pick up the phone and know that you will have a good response on the other end and that we can trust one another to work together and cooperate.
The Treasury Secretary says she's already been invited back to China next year to keep the lines of communication open. In San Francisco, Brooks Jerose, KTVU Fox 2 News.
It appears Las Vegas casino workers will not be going on strike. After months of negotiations, their union has reached a deal with the major resort operators. The Culinary and Bartenders Union had set a strike deadline for today, but at the last minute, the two sides reached an agreement for about 35,000 workers at MGM Resorts, Caesars, and Wynn. The tentative agreements for 5-year contracts affect workers at 18 different casinos. And this breakthrough comes ahead of the Formula One Grand Prix races happening next week around the Las Vegas Strip. Today, board members from Hollywood's Actors Union voted to approve the deal with the studios to end their strike after nearly 4 months. Union representatives say 86% voted in favor of that tentative agreement. The $1 billion deal includes increased residual payments for streaming shows and new rules for artificial intelligence.
This deal was made at the moment it should have been made. It was made at the point of peak leverage for SAG-AFTRA and our members. It is a deal that reflects the absolute best that could be achieved in this negotiation, and it's a deal that serves our members well and that protects them from the things that they most need protection against.
Now that 3-year contract agreement goes to a vote by union members. That voting will get underway on Tuesday. We're now learning another suspicious letter filled with white powder was discovered yesterday at an elections office in Washington. This one found in Snohomish County. The letter matched the description of the others that were discovered on Tuesday. The letters sent to King and Spokane counties tested positive for trace amounts of fentanyl. The FBI says similar letters have also been reported in 4 other states, including California, Oregon, and Nevada. They're reminding everyone to be cautious when handling mail, especially from unrecognized senders. A 4-year-old girl recovering tonight after being attacked by a coyote. It happened today outside her home in Mesa, just east of Phoenix. As Fox 10's Brian Webb reports, police shot and killed that coyote shortly after the attack.
I'm kneeling down right here working on my flowers.
Greg Bear lives around the corner and was tending to his garden when a coyote got a little too close for comfort.
And he was still approaching. I stood up and he's still approaching and I scream. I back away and scream and he stops. And then I going through my mind, what do I do? And I went back corner of their house. I've got a hose. Turned the hose on, squirted him, and he left.
Mesa police and Game and Fish rushed to the scene. They tracked the coyote for several blocks and killed it about an hour later, close to a nearby canal. This is a picture of the dead coyote shot on Greg's cell phone.
It was pretty intimidating because I had no defense. I had nothing. I didn't have a stick. I had nothing.
This fairly new development used to be open farmland, and more construction is going up every day, along with the feeling that someone is feeding wild animals. So coyote sightings aren't rare around here, but attacks are until today.
Before, they've always just kind of skirted away and never had to worry about them. But obviously today with one attacking it, it becomes a different story. We have to kind of be more alert and more aware of what's going on.
The kids were eating breakfast, and my 9-year-old's friend came to ask if she could play. They opened the door. My 4-year-old darted out and sat down on the grass, and within 20 seconds they were running in screaming, saying she had gotten bitten by a coyote. My 9-year-old was in hysterics, and my 4-year-old walked in and looked at me and said, "I got bit by a dangerous animal." And I didn't believe her at first because she was so calm about it. But my 9-year-old acting the way she did, I went and I lifted up her pajamas, and sure enough, there was a bite mark right there on her hip.
And that was Fox 10's Brian Webb reporting for us tonight. The coyote is now going to be tested for diseases like rabies. Again, the little girl has minor injuries and she is expected to recover. Tonight, we've learned a man has been arrested for allegedly sexually assaulting former Arizona Senator Martha McSally. We told you last night, McSally posted a video on social media describing what happened. She says she was jogging along a river in Council Bluffs, Iowa, when she was attacked. Police have now arrested Dominic Henton, and he's facing a charge of assault with intent to commit sexual abuse. McSally was in Iowa to give a speech about overcoming adversity and fear. The former senator has been open about being the victim of previous sexual assaults. Authorities in Southern California have arrested a man who they believe may be linked to dismembered body parts discovered earlier this week in several locations. Los Angeles police say 35-year-old Samuel Haskell has been booked on suspicion of murder. Investigators believe he likely killed his wife, and police suspect he may have killed his in-laws as well, who are both still missing. The couple also has 3 children who are now staying with other family members.
Somebody that can kill their wife, especially with 3 young children, they're probably attached to the wife, and then do whatever he did with the in-laws. I'm more worried about the kids right now.
The suspect in this case is the son of a well-known Hollywood producer and agent, Sam Haskell Sr. The younger Haskell is being held tonight on $2 million bail. Tonight, we're seeing surveillance video of a bus crash in Southern California that left 14 people injured. The video from yesterday afternoon shows a car speeding through a stop sign and crashing into an oncoming city bus in Long Beach. The bus plowed right into a restaurant. Bystanders were stunned by the crash, but they say speeding is a big problem in that area.
If you're at this intersection and you see a bus, what just possessed you to still keep going through the intersection?
You know, I'm not surprised by all that over here because they be speeding like crazy over here. They need to put more traffic lights.
12 people on the bus were hurt, along with 2 people in that car. The family restaurant that was damaged has been closed temporarily, but it does plan to reopen. In Orange County, officials today declared local emergencies after it was discovered that a nearby hangar that caught fire contained asbestos. The huge World War II-era hangar caught fire early Tuesday morning. Out of an abundance of caution, Tustin's Veterans Day celebration scheduled for Saturday has been canceled.
So none of us found out until we woke up to, smoke and having a hard time breathing, and then we look outside and the main concern now is we already inhaled all that stuff all night. The main concern now is how do we deal with the chunks of asbestos in our front door, the dust on our door, our garage, our windows.
Monday, Orange County supervisors are going to hold a special meeting to consider ratifying an emergency proclamation to get state and federal funding for cleanup at that toxic site. A new bill would classify 911 operators as first responders. The bipartisan effort is being led in part by Southern California Congresswoman Norma Torres, who is a former 911 dispatcher. The legislation would classify operators as first responders instead of clerical workers. This would add certain legal protections and likely allow operators access to additional grants and funding. The bill aims to keep more 911 operators from facing burnout. A lawsuit claims U.S. immigration authorities disregarded signs of unsanitary and unsafe conditions at a detention center in New Mexico. The claim was filed this week by a coalition of migrants' rights advocates. They say 4 Venezuelans were seeking asylum in the U.S. when they were detained at the Torrance County Detention Facility in the town of Estancia. The suit claims the asylum seekers were denied medical care, food, and access to working showers. The lawsuit says Immigration and Customs Enforcement officials disregarded findings by the Department of Homeland Security, suggesting the center had unhealthy conditions and staffing shortages. ICE says it will not comment on the litigation. Coming up tonight, snow is blanketing California's Sierra Nevada mountains. How winter sports fans can take advantage of this early season storm. Plus,
started with 50 and it got to now 2,000 or so.
Many farmers in the West are turning to drought-resistant crops, the plants some are banking on to make a profit.
And in weather, we are tracking a cold storm up in the Pacific Northwest, but next week the rainfall pattern could be expanding across a good portion of the West Coast, and we'll have the update coming up.
Nearly 3 dozen people had to be evaluated by medics late today after a chemical spill in downtown Los Angeles. A 55-gallon drum was leaking fumes that sickened one person this afternoon. A total of 33 patients, all of them employees at the JW Marriott Hotel, were checked out by first responders. The product inside that drum is believed to be some sort of a cleaning solution. Extreme heat and ongoing drought conditions are causing some farmers here in the West to start investing in drought-resistant crops like agave, which is used to make tequila. Fox's Gary Baumgarten takes a closer look tonight at how one small operation is transforming into a booming alcohol business.
While fall weather is bringing cooler temperatures across the country, a new report from the nonprofit group Climate Central reveals the last 12 months were the hottest Earth has ever recorded. The scientific research points to greenhouse gas emissions from the burning of fossil fuels for the stubborn heat, which triggered the average global temperature to be more than 2 degrees higher than pre-industrial times from November of 2022 to last month. This unnatural heat is creating an uncertain future for farmers out west who have been facing years of drought. It's prompting some growers in California to start investing in crops that don't require as much water. Their saving grace could come from blue agave, the plant used to make tequila.
Started with 50 and have got to now 2,000 or so.
Agave actually thrives in dry regions with limited water. Farmers in the Golden State hope that it brings them literal gold as more work with local distilleries to transform their agave into premium alcohol.
There's definitely a lot of excitement.
And they may be in luck. Americans' appetite for agave-based liquor has been on the rise. Data from the Distilled Spirits Council of the United States reports the tequila and mezcal market in the United States has grown by more than 270% since 2003. Gary Baumgarten, Fox News.
In Alaska, an early winter storm is slamming parts of that state. On Wednesday, 9 inches of snow fell on the city of Anchorage. That's the largest single-day total in the city's history. Overall, this storm has dropped 21 inches on Alaska's largest city, the biggest snowstorm on record this early in the season. The storm has led to power outages and road closures across that area. Anchorage's mayor has declared a snow emergency. That was declared yesterday. And another reminder here that we are inching closer to winter in the Pacific Northwest. This is what you'll find. Snow mixed with rain. This is what's been coming down up in the mountains lately. This is a look at the summit at Snoqualmie. Let's bring in KTVU meteorologist Mark Tamayo with more on how much snow and how much rain we could expect across the West in the coming days. Hey, Mark.
Hi there, Alex. Yeah, that's an area picking up the most active weather into the weekend. In fact, as I step out of the way here, all these areas in blue, so northern Washington here, we're talking about a winter storm warning as we come in closer. Snowfall expectations could be around 18 to 24 inches. So the winter storm warning not in place just yet. This begins Friday night or tonight, 10 o'clock, lasting into Saturday as well. So here is the extended forecast. So we've been talking so much about rain and snow up in the Pacific Northwest. It's kind of been the repeating story. But what will happen into next week is we're going to see a storm move down into the Pacific. And we're going to be bumping up some rain chances for the San Francisco Bay Area, possibly down towards Southern California as well. We still have to iron out quite a few details over the coming days. In Seattle today, of course, we have been tracking the rain once again and lots of cloud cover in place. The San Francisco Bay Area, beautiful sunset looking out towards San Francisco, Oakland, picking up temperatures in the upper 60s or warming up into the upper 60s. And down in Southern California, another warm day. You can see looking out toward LAX, 76 degrees, and looks like a warming pattern down in Southern California into the weekend. So currently the satellite and the radar showing you all of the active weather up towards Seattle and Portland right now, but it is dry. Just a few high clouds for Eureka down towards San Francisco, and a few high clouds drifted into portions of Arizona as well. Current numbers, it's a cool 35 degrees in Denver. I guess you'd expect that this time of year. San Francisco 60s and Los Angeles 62 degrees. We're not talking about any heat at all. Still the unsettled conditions up to the north and temperatures in the 50s out towards Seattle and Portland. It's nice for Northern California. It's definitely warm in Southern California and also closer to Phoenix as well. Temperatures back up into the 80s. So as you can see here, there's the forecast model showing you more rain and more snow into your Saturday. But once again, this will be changing into next week, but it looks like just a few high clouds drifted into the northern half of the state of California on Sunday. So here's kind of the breakdown over the next several days, keeping those rain clouds for Seattle. For San Francisco, a sun-cloud mix, and then out toward Denver, lots of sunshine. Temperatures, in fact, back up into the 60s by Sunday into Monday, and holding on to a summer pattern down toward Los Angeles and down toward Phoenix. Temperatures upper 70s to the lower 80s. So the quiet weather to the south. But Alex, as I mentioned, the pattern could be changing next week, and we'll be bumping up some rain chances across parts of the west into next week for Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday.
All right, I know you will continue to track it. Mark, thank you. Well, we may be over a month and a half away from winter, but you wouldn't know it if you were up in the mountains in California. Mammoth Mountain Ski Resort in the Eastern Sierra held its grand opening today. This is Mammoth's 70th ski season. It's starting out with a base of up to 18 inches, and more snow is expected to arrive next week, as Mark was mentioning. Joni Lynch, the Vice President of Marketing and Sales at Mammoth Resort, says skiers and snowboarders waited overnight just to be the first out on the mountain.
We had folks lining up here yesterday sleeping overnight in the lineup to make sure that they could hold their place in line to get some of the first chairs. Now, we received about 6 inches of natural snow earlier this week. Our snowmaking crews have been making snow on top of that, so we have a base of about 10 to 18 inches of snow. We have 4 chairlifts open.
Yeah, clearly, skiers and snowboarders excited about the upcoming season. In addition to Mammoth Mountain, resorts are opening up as well near Lake Tahoe. Donner Ski Ranch and Mount Rose open today, and next weekend, Boreal, Heavenly, and North Star are all set to turn on those lifts and open up to skiers and snowboarders. That will be followed by Palisades Tahoe, opening up on November 22nd. Coming up tonight on West Coast Wrap, one city here in the West may soon try to replicate the Las Vegas Sphere. We'll tell you about that. Also, how one Utah family is being reunited with the remains of a Marine killed more than 50 years ago. More than 50 years after being shot down over North Vietnam, a Marine Corps pilot's remains are now home tonight. A casket with the remains of Marine Corps pilot Jim Chipman arrived in Salt Lake City yesterday. Chipman was shot down over North Vietnam on December 27, 1972. His remains were only positively identified this summer.
We're just so happy and so much celebrating the fact that we do have part of him that we can have here in a cemetery and honor him.
Chipman's widow and the couple's 2 sons were at the airport when the body was flown in. The sons were 4 years old and 18 months old at the time their father was shot down. The state of Colorado will be well represented at future college football playoff selection committee meetings. Today, the College Football Playoff Board of Managers announced Air Force Superintendent Lieutenant General Richard Clark will be the next executive director of the committee. In college, Clark was a 4-year letter winner with the Air Force football team. Clark will take over as the playoffs prepare for an expansion to a 12-team format starting next season. We now know the nominees for this spring's Grammy Awards. Today, the Recording Academy announced Miley Cyrus, Olivia Rodrigo, and Taylor Swift will all compete for Album of the Year. SZA, Billie Eilish, and Dua Lipa are nominated for Song of the Year, along with 5 other artists. Best New Artist is expected to be the tightest race this season. Ice Spice, Coco Jones, and Gracie Abrams were all nominated. The 2024 ceremony is going to be held February 4th in Los Angeles. Finally tonight, one Southern California community could soon get its own version of the Las Vegas Sphere. The city of West Hollywood is considering a much smaller version that would be called the Sphere on Sunset, built along the famed Sunset Strip. However, this sphere wouldn't be used for entertainment. Instead, it would be used as a broadcast venue, along with features like a reception room, green rooms, and a roof terrace. That does it for West Coast Wrap tonight. Thank you so much for watching. You can stay up to date on all the stories we're covering online at westcoastwrap.com. Have a great night. We'll see you back here next week.